Well, it is the last day of 2023. Many thanks for joining us right here on Look Up Weekend. My name is John Matava. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Veronica Awar. We have a lot for you that has been happening throughout the year. But before we come to that, take a look at the top stories making headlines at this hour.
Tonight, there were a total of 19 casualties who've arrived at our hospital. 7 of those were fatalities that occurred at the site, and the bodies have been transferred to our morgue.
7 people died, 12 injured after matatu rammed into a trailer along the Nakuru Eldoret highway.
Ningeomba hii ingekuja tu maisha iweze kurudi chini.
Na tarajia vitu zitakuwa kwa mfano mafuta na kazi zipatikane, manake mimi nimesomea ualimu na hakuna kazi.
Out with old, in with the new. Across the world, many look forward to the new year 2024 with the big resolutions. And as the year comes to a close, we take a trip down the corridors of justice and highlight major landmark rulings in 2023.
Welcome to the program from wherever you're watching from. My name is John Matava. Our sign language interpreter is Veronica Awar. Let's get started. We started on a sad note where 7 people died early Sunday morning while 12 others sustained serious injuries in an accident involving a 14-seater matatu and 2 trailers near Everready roundabout along the Nakuru Eldoret highway. According to police reports, the speeding trailer rammed into a matatu which then collided with another trailer.
The driver of this lorry, which was transporting maize from Nakuru to Eldoret, lost control at the Everready roundabout on the Nakuru Eldoret highway, colliding with a 14-seater matatu belonging to the Ngata 2 NV Sacco, which was ferrying passengers to Nakuru town at 7:30 a.m. today.
Hii gari ilikuwa imesimamishwa na maaskari Nissan matatu. Hii gari ikatoka juu ya mahindi, hii transist. After itoka juu ilipiga oni mingi sana. So from there ndio ilishika hiyo Nissan ikararua pande moja. Wenye walikuwa ndani sisi ndio tumeweka kwa skeja imewapeleka mocha.
Confirming the incident, Nakuru West Sub-County Police Commander Francis Waome said 7 died from the accident while 12 others sustained serious injuries after the lorry carrying maize lost control after brake failure and hit the matatu.
Kwa bahati mbaya ile lorry kwa sababu ilikuwa imekuja kwa kasi ikaweza kugonga ile matatu kutoka nyuma, na ni pole sana kwa sababu tumeweza kupoteza maisha. Na pia ilipogonga hilo matatu kukatokea ya kwamba iligonga lori jingine. Majeruhi wamekibizwa hospitalini na confirmation ya the figures zile ambazo wale fatalities itakuwa confirmed baadaye.
According to witnesses, the matatu was stationary at a traffic roadblock when the lorry lost control, instantly killing 7 people on the spot.
Barabara yetu imekuwa na challenge mingi za accident na zinasababishwa na hawa traffic police. Kama ile accident ya leo, lori imetoka kutoka juu imewasha taa na polisi wamesimamisha matatu kwa barabara kuchukua pesa. Sasa hizi watu wengi wamekufa, askari wametoroka wameenda barabara ya London huko juu.
Police officers also had a rough time dispersing crowd that had begun robbing maize from the lorry.
Kwa sababu hilo gari lilikuwa limebeba mahindi, kuna wananchi ambao walikuja na wakaanza kupora yale mahindi, lakini strength yetu wakati imekuja tumeweza kudhibiti hali na tunagojea mzigo uweze kuondolewa na tuweze kukria barabara ili normal operations za hii barabara ziweze kuendelea.
12 continue to recover at the Nakuru County Referral Hospital, nursing serious injuries, especially on the head and legs.
7 of those were fatalities that occurred at the site, and the bodies have been transferred to our morgue. So 12 of them came to our casualty for medical attention. Of those, we had 2 females and 10 males. So far, 2 of the gentlemen have been seen and discharged. They just had some soft tissue injuries, but they were stable enough to be released from the hospital.
John Matava, Lookuptv.
And on that note, let's cross over to Nakuru County, where President William RUTO is currently giving his final year speech. And of course, let's check that.
Drought in 40 years. All these factors slowed down our economic performance, resulting in increased commodity prices. Fertilizers and cereals experienced significant price hikes, contributing to the rise in food prices and the overall cost of living. To manage, moderate, and overcome these difficulties, this year became the year of a complete paradigm shift in the handling of our national issues. We collectively summoned the courage to make bold, decisive, far-reaching, and long-term decisions to once and for all put our country on the path to attaining its full socio-economic potential. The choices we've made over the last year were neither easy, populist, nor convenient. They were, however, meaningful, appropriate, and necessary. In the short term, painful, but in the long term, gainful. 2023 is the year we decided to stop wastage and extravagance, instead opting to live within our means. We decided to cut expenditure by up to 400 billion shillings so as to reduce our borrowing. We decided to enhance our tax revenues by Kenya shillings 600 billion to fund our programs and development so as to safeguard our sovereignty and independence. Ladies and gentlemen, we certainly cannot be independent if we are enslaved by monumental debt, as has been the case. We take pride in the strides we've made as a nation. We have triumphed over the threat of economic stagnation and are now in secure space with regard to our sovereign debt obligations. Inflation has reduced to 6.8%, and our GDP is growing at a rate of 5.4%, placing Kenya as the 29th fastest growing economy in the world. In 2023, we decided to get rid of consumption subsidies that not only drove our nation into deeper financial distress, but were also unsustainable, opaque, and only benefited middlemen at the expense of those who truly deserved support. Instead, we deliberately redirected our focus to support production through incentives in our crops, livestock, and fisheries programs. Today, with the blessing of good weather, thanks to God, these interventions have enabled us to increase our food productivity by 40% at a fraction of the previous cost. Working with farmers, our foremost patriots, we shall double our efforts in 2024 until we reduce our Kenya shillings 500 billion food import bill to zero and rid our country of the shame of hunger. In 2023, we decided that growing our economy, as has been the case in the past, was not enough. Change was an inevitable imperative. As such, we rolled out an economic growth model intentionally designed to be inclusive, deliberately expanding opportunities and creating jobs. Millions of jobs, all types of jobs, construction jobs, technical jobs, digital jobs, as well as entrepreneurial opportunities, both locally and abroad. Our housing program, for example, not only provides decent home ownership for millions, including some slum dwellers who now live in squalor, but it also aims to reverse agricultural land fragmentation and has already created 120,000 jobs with plans to employ an even greater multiple of people next year. For the first time, my Mama Mboga and Boda Boda friends will now have a chance to own a home in our Kenya shillings 4,000 a month, 3% interest rate tenant purchase scheme. That will be the case for other Kenyans on our 6% affordable housing and 9% market housing program. All these housing programs will be at a single-digit interest rates, which is half the current rates. Ladies and gentlemen, our digital superhighway infrastructure with 22,000 computers being supplied is already creating thousands of jobs in our technical and vocational education and training institutions. Even as we roll out our ICT hubs in every ward and every constituency in Kenya. Our international jobs program is well on course, having negotiated many bilateral labor agreements to open up opportunities for employment for Kenyans globally. Our collective efforts have not only rescued us from economic paralysis, but propelled us towards a brighter future. We navigated complex debt situations, accelerated economic progress, and invested significantly in our human capital. Recognizing the pivotal role of education, we increased allocation to the education sector by Kenya shillings 127 billion, which enabled us enhanced capitation for our learners, bringing us closer to the dream of universal education from ECD to the tertiary level. We also employed 56,000 teachers to improve access to quality education throughout Kenya. We have equally made immense progress in promoting financial inclusion and dignity of Kenyans at the lower economic echelons. The Hustler Fund and the NSSF new contribution model exemplify our dedication to inclusive growth, financial well-being, and social security for all Kenyans. We have made affordable credit available to millions of Kenyans who for years were alienated and underserved by financial institutions. The Hustler Fund has disbursed over Kenya shillings 42 billion to Kenyans in just 1 year, making it the largest financial inclusion program in Kenya. And most importantly, over 7 million Kenyans are now regular customers, transacting and doing business, freed from the bondage of Shylocks and predatory lenders. Kenyans who would otherwise not make it beyond the watchman at the financial institution now access close to 100 million shillings from the Hustler Fund every single day. We shall continue to improve and expand the range of products offered under this revolutionary intervention. Similarly, our universal health coverage program has set in motion a transformative approach to health delivery. With 100,000 community health promoters actively contributing to the betterment of our nation's health, we are witnessing the tangible impact of our dedication to the well-being of people. In the new year, we continue our health transformation at the
In less than 3 hours East African time, the Kenyans will be marking the new year in different destinations. Today, we walked the streets to get a feel of the expectations and resolutions. Across the world, however, some countries have already seen 2024. The nation of Kiribati Island was the first to welcome the new year, followed by the islands of Tonga and Samoa, then followed by Western nations, including the New Zealand, Fiji, Australia, China, Japan, and South Korea.
We are gathered to collect views from Kenyans upon their New Year resolutions.
Oh, these days we don't talk of new resolutions because year come, year go, we do come up with many of them, but at the end of the day, we end up not fulfilling any of them. More especially with the current economic downtown. No one he or she can come up and cheat you that my resolutions are maybe this or that, because the economic situation does not dictate that whether one can be brave enough to come up with any of the resolutions, because we are really down. We are down economically. We are down. Any new resolutions to be maintained and be accomplished has to be dictated by the economic situation. But with our country, Kenya, and with our current economy, with the current governance, with the current regime, we cannot forecast, because you can't do it just for the sake of it.
Kwa majina mimi naitwa Joshua, ni mkaaji wa Westlands hapa. Hii mwaka yenye inaenda kuisha sasa, ijakuwa mzuri vile. Maisha imekuwa ngumu zaidi. Sasa kwa maoni yangu, ningeomba hii ingekuja tu, maisha iweze kurudi chini, tuanze kushughulika kama sisi wazazi, tuweze kupata hata school fees. Juu maisha imekuwa ngumu, hata saa hii hatuna school fees ya kulipia watoto.
My resolution this year, say that to become a good person, to be help someone in the society, and to be useful to the society, help people in the society. That's all. And then something good to help the people, because my dream is just to get the people from the back to get them in the front.
Maisha ya mwaka huu imekuwa magumu sana, hata kila Mkenya analia. Kulingana na next year ndi nimekuwa na mipangilio mingi, but tunatarajia vitu zitakuwa, kwa mfano mafuta na kazi zipatikane, manake mimi nimesomea ualimu na hakuna kazi, na inakubidi ufanye hizi kazi ndogo ndogo, manake uweze ukachagua kazi, uweze ukasurvive.
Kama mimi mwana boda, mafuta irudi chini ndio tupate pesa ya kusomesha watoto.
Mpango yangu haswa, nataka nikirudi by mwezi wa 4, nataka nirudi nyumbani. Kuna vitu nataka niende nitengeneze nyumbani, na nahitaji tu ikitoka hapa. Hii shilingi 20, shilingi 50 na napata hapa. Nikikula shilingi 20, naweka shilingi 5, ninajaza. By mwezi wa 4, najua ile mpangilio yenye nilikuwa naye, hiyo next year nitakuwa nimekamilisha vizuri. Na namuomba Mwenyezi Mungu, because hakuna mali naweza toa support yangu ni hapa.
Mambo imekuwa mangumu. Kwa hivyo mwaka ujao tuna matumainie, ni kwa sababu yeye mwenyewe amejionea vile kuko. Yeye mwenyewe tunaomba mwaka ujao kuwa na mafanikio mema na kuwa na matumaini, ili hata kama ni mwananchi wa kawaida awe na kitu kwa mfuko, ili maisha iweze kuendelea, watoto wasome, watu wako na mambo mapya. Sina lingine ni hilo tu. Nawatakia mwaka mpya mwenye baraka. Thank you very much.
Even as the new year ages, from the views gathered here from the Nairobi Central Business District, it is clear from Kenyans that a lot of expectations are there for the new year 2024, with their resolutions still in store. Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv, at the Nairobi Central Business District.
And let's take you to Nakuru State Lodge, where currently President William RUTO is giving the State of the Nation speech to usher in the new year 2024. And just among the key highlights that President RUTO says that the impact of economic dynamics come 2024 were adversely affected compared to the war in Europe and many other places. And of course, he adds that Mama Mboga, the border riders, will be the first ones to own her home come 2024. That, of course, and much more. What is happening in Nakuru will be giving you an update as that is coming up right away. Moving forward, more than 800 orphans
ones we sometimes call ordinary, at the center of all national discourse. As we do this, we must appreciate one indisputable fact. Freedom is our lifeblood and identity. We are a society defined by opportunity, founded on free enterprise and democracy, where competition and merit are underpinned by compassion, inclusivity, and a strong sense of collective interest. Public policy must therefore respect, uphold, and promote this fundamental character, enhancing our aspirations by ensuring that everyone, and I repeat, everyone must be seen and heard, and that no one, and I repeat again, no one is left behind. For us to remain a viable nation-building project, every Kenyan must be represented at the decision-making table. The public interest is safeguarded by our constitutional dispensation, providing for the implementation of state policy for the benefit of all citizens, not some citizens. This includes the implementation of social and economic rights, a progressive economy creating jobs and wealth, fighting corruption, controlling wastage, supporting public institutions, and protecting freedom and the rule of law. This perspective radically increases the number of possible winners and dramatically diminishes likely losers. Yet, every new way of doing things can threaten the privileges of a dominant minority and alienate the beneficiaries of an unjust system. Whenever this happens, ladies and gentlemen, their associates can attempt to hijack national institutions, turning them into anti-people weapons for a select privileged few and saboteurs of inclusive transformation for the majority. We are, unfortunately, at such a moment in our national history. The question is, how do we proceed from this point? The people of Kenya have made great sacrifices to immensely facilitate us, their leaders, and all public servants, for us to do the very best that we can in making this country work for everyone, and in making sure that our institutions protect and increase opportunities for wealth and employment for all. The people of Kenya have also invested in providing us, their leaders, in all arms of government with generous welfare and other benefits, including medical and housing benefits that they can only dream of, in the expectation that we shall in turn safeguard their opportunities to access either commensurate, if not similar, benefits. We must recognize, ladies and gentlemen, the extraordinary privilege that has been bestowed on us to serve this nation as members of the cabinet, the civil society, the security services, members of parliament, county governments, the judiciary, or in the commissions and independent offices. Accordingly, we are under solemn obligation to dedicate all our time, energy, and abilities to the advancement of the people's aspirations and the improvement of their well-being. In other words, the very best of our professional and moral and intellectual capabilities must be summoned in the service of the nation. And as trustees of the people, we are duty-bound to exercise public authority and deploy public resources to the best of our judgment and discretion with the public interest in our mind. Our understanding of public interest must be aligned with the imperative to enhance the social contract and be connected with the urgent need to increase opportunities and transform the landscape of possibilities. Let us therefore reflect very deeply about the ways in which we act and speak in the name of the Constitution. We must ensure that institutional independence does not mutate into impunity and avoidance of accountability. We must be cautious lest our professed pursuit of constitutionalism and obedience to the law turns into an empty ritual and hollow vanity for the majority of citizens. We must take abundant care that our aim to protecting or advancing the people's rights does not deny them legitimate opportunities or make a mockery of their struggles and their aspirations. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when a public servant enjoying a house mortgage at 3% interest makes a decision to frustrate the housing program, robbing millions of young people employment prospects and denying millions of Kenyans the chance to own a home like them. This is also the case when a public officer who benefits from unlimited medical insurance invokes the law to derail the universal health care delivery, denying millions of vulnerable Kenyans a health cover, just like the one they have. It is also the case when a politician neglects the boundaries of democratic competition, that opposing policy, government policy for that matter, does not permit undermining the nation or sabotaging the national interest or the welfare of the people. In conclusion, the last general elections were a watershed moment for our nation. We finally came of age and set a new record, confirming to all and sundry that Kenya is a robust democracy. We turned over a new leaf, writing a fresh chapter in the Kenyan narrative. The era of ethnicity and ethnic political mobilization was well behind us. The anarchy of election violence was firmly relegated to the past. And more importantly, the people, not the system, had the final say. This new narrative of a new Kenya is what we have built upon for the past 1 year. We have established a new profile for Kenya, providing regional and global leadership, highlighted by hosting the first ever Africa Climate Summit. Nairobi is recognized now as the best city to visit in 2024 by by the US-based travel agency Lonely Planet. And Kenya stands as the third highest recipient of remittances according to World Bank. Accordingly, our country holds the third position as a globally attractive destination for foreign direct investment in 2024. Kenya has also achieved the status of the best adventure tourism destination in Africa and ranks 10th globally. With our newly crafted global positioning as the home of humankind and a visa-free regime, we are poised to double our tourist arrivals, expand opportunities for thousands of hospitality facilities, and create millions of jobs. This represents the new branding, the new profile, the new narrative to propel the nation we all love to the next level. I urge all Kenyans, especially leaders, to build on the Kenya that celebrates diversity and not ethnic bigotry. A Kenya free of anarchy and violence, and a nation not founded on negativity, but a new positive narrative that is gaining momentum globally. It is important for us to remind one another of what really is at stake. We have come some encouraging way amid enormous challenges and significant difficulties. Our path will be easier, our journey will be faster, and our progress smoother if we all remember that the people of Kenya have interests that dictate our job descriptions and form the terms of our employment. Let us remember this always, and remember that with the new year comes our opportunity to do much more and much better. And that is why I wish every Kenyan, irrespective of their status, irrespective of their station, irrespective of where they live, a blessed, progressive, and successful 2024. Na nitarudia niseme kwa Wakenya wote, mahali popote mlipo, mwaka wa 2024 ni mwaka wa baraka. Mungu ametupatia taifa, ametupatia nchi yenye baraka nyingi, ametupatia mambo mengi. Kenya leo imepata heshima duniani kote. Kenya leo inatambulika. Ni jukumu letu kujenga taifa letu. Good people, we have a great country. It is our responsibility to make it greater. And we have a moment in history to do just that. And I'm asking all of us leaders, all of us Kenyans, to work together to move our country, the country we all love, to the next level. Thank you. I again wish each and every one of you a great year ahead, as I ask the people of Nakuru who lost some family members today, that we ask God to empathize with you as we empathize with you, that God is going to give the grace to the families that lost their loved ones today in Nakuru County, and those that did in Nyeri and a few other areas during this season. We wish them God's grace and that God will comfort them and give them safe passage even as we celebrate the new year. We stand with the families who have lost their loved ones. I want to say to all of us, asanteni sana. I know we will be here for a while as we wait for for midnight. Welcome to this celebration and my very best wishes in 2024. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki.
Tumpongeze rais kwa makofi tena.
Well, and that is President William Ruto's message to Kenyans as we usher in the new year 2024. And of course, that takes us on a short break right here on Lookuptv. Stick around. We'll be coming up with more updates for you.
Tere, mambo ni mawili, kufikisha, kumwaga na kurudi. Kulala ni mwaka mpya.
Muka we mse. Nini mbaya? Wewe kwani wani vile dereva anaendesha gari vibaya, lazima tususe. Anaendesha gari na kwa simu the whole time hata angalia barabara. Mamiseni gari ama tusimame. Wewe dereva wewe, mwaka iliyopita peke yake watu zaidi ya 3,000 walipoteza maisha yao barabarani kwa sababu ya tabia kama hizo. Hautatuangamiza tukiona.
Naomba msamaha, nitampeleka vizuri.
Si wameomba msamaha. Sasa tuende tusafiri kwa mwendo wa aste.
Dere Smart hufikisha abiria salama. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for watching. More than 800 orphans in Tana River who were displaced by El Nino floods ended the year in style after a local community-based organization threw a party and gave them relief food and other personal effects. Martin Masharia with the details.
It is an event that brought smiles to the faces of many orphans in Tana River County, as former Governor Hussein Dado presided over the initiative that commenced at Hola Primary School. Moved by the efforts, Dado expanded the program to encompass 4 locations, gathering orphans affected by floods from various parts of the region.
We decided to pick on 4 locations, and initially we got 682 orphans in those 4 locations. Then the number went shot up to nearly 800 today, because others had also started coming in. And it is multi-ethnic, multi-religious orphans. We didn't care where you came from as long as we are within these 3 locations.
Tana River Women Representative Amina Dika commended the youth-led initiative and urged the national government to provide further support to the flood victims, emphasizing the lingering challenges faced by the affected communities.
Leo kama mama county nimekuja kusimama na wao. Mayatima wale ambao kidogo age yao imefika ile adolescence, tumewaletea kama sanitary towels, tumewaletea vitu kama biskuti nini na pia kuwa support kidogo. So ningependa kuomba mashirika pia isupport hawa vijana.
Tana River Speaker Osman Galole emphasized the unity among leaders in supporting the orphans, expressing optimism that such initiatives would uplift the livelihoods of Tana River orphans.
Ili kuja kusimama na hao mayatima na kuwafeed. It was a feeding program ya mayatima karibu 700 na pia kuwapea chakula kidogo ya kuenda kupika huko nyumbani na wazazi wao. Na isitoshe hao mayatima pia wamekuwa affected na floods. Most of them wale wamekuwa hapa leo ni victim ama ni wale ambao wamekuwa affected na the current flood. Wote ni IDPs. So ni kama gesture ya mara mbili. Tayari wao wenyewe ni orphans na pia hawana uwezo yote na wamepigwa na hiyo flood. So at least ile kuwalisha na kuwapea chakula ya kuenda kutumia nyumbani siku moja siku mbili, it's a good gesture.
The CBO CEO expressed gratitude for the support received, pledging to stand by the orphans even if it meant personal sacrifice.
The most appreciation goes to His Excellency Ambassador Dado, the only leader who stood with us and showed us that we can, and showed us that yes, with his support and the little that we can raise, we can make a smile on more than 800 orphans that we made today.
As Tana River continues to grapple with the aftermath of floods, the call for assistance resonates beyond the local community, with an appeal to both the national government and international organizations to contribute to the recovery effort in the region. Martin Masharia, Lookuptv.
Thank you so much, Martin Masharia, for that story. Moving forward, the Kenyan-born Ugandan athlete Benjamin Kiplagat was found dead inside a car today in Kimumu in Eldoret, was in Gishu County. Kiplagat was the 2008 World Junior 3,000 meters steeplechase silver medalist representing Uganda. He also represented Uganda in the Rio Olympics Games in 2016 in Brazil, among other competitions. Investigations have begun to establish the cause of his untimely death. The Kabasgei FC and Kenyans FC are the champions of the first edition of Stanley Ledlato's tournament that is held in Nandi County. Kabasgei FC clinched the title after beating Kenyans FC 2-1 in boys finals, while in the girls category, Kenyans FC crushed Kabasgei 3-0. Both winners went home with 33 Kenyan shillings.
Vile tumecheza game tumekuwa tukitarajia Mungu na tulikuwa tumejua tutakuwa washindi. Tumekuwa tukijituma na vijana wangu ni wadogo, ni discipline. Ndio maana tumejituma hadi dakika ya mwisho tumefaulu.
Kuna talent mingi sana hapa hivi.
this is an exposure. I was actually saying, maybe kunaweza patikana vijana wanaweza hata kucheza national level, and it's not just national level, unacheza national, kuna team unaweza enda Rwanda, Uganda, ama even international Premier League na hizo zingine.
Nataka niombe serikali yetu ya Nandi County pamoja na viongozi nyanjani waweze kujitolea kusaidia michezo ya namna hii ili kuweza kusaidia vijana wetu.
And now to our special feature tonight. The corridors of justice have seen it all, convictions and acquittals as well of crimes from petty offences to capital offences. Under the Constitution, the courts have authority to uphold and as well as enforce bills of right. Well, 2023 was defined by numerous landmark rulings, as our very own Nancy Nelima now reports.
Life sentence has been an elusive matter in the country. Although under the penal code, capital offences like murder, robbery, violence and defilement are punished by either life or death sentence. With Kenya boasting a progressive constitution across the world, the lack of a precise definition of life imprisonment, however, created a gap. In July 2023, on a defilement appeal case, the Court of Appeal in Malindi declared mandatory life sentence unconstitutional, terming it as unjustifiable discrimination, unfair and unacceptable, contrary to Article 27 of the Constitution, which states that every person is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law.
A judge should be able to analyze the circumstance of each case and then have a determined ruling. From a human rights perspective, my take would be that the court ought to give itself discretion in terms of the matters they receive. A judge should be able to analyze the circumstance of each case and then have a determined ruling. When you are given the life sentence, it should mean a 30-year period. So there are some principles that aid people to arrive at such determinations, is that the essence of punishment must have a goal. It should deter other members of the public from committing the same offense. It should reform the person who is being punished, and then it should have an aim, so that once someone is punished, after they've served the punishment, then they're able to return or be reintegrated into the society.
Human rights advocate Elijah Rotok also speaks on the need to dignify human life and the impact of a sentence to a convict.
Persons serving capital offences are isolated, and so there's an aspect of loneliness. They are separated from the other inmates. There's family disintegration in the sense that a significant number that either were fathers or mothers or immediately has an impact in terms of what it implies that this person may never see the outside doors of prison, and therefore the family disintegrates. And also even to the family members themselves, there is victimization. There is that tag that the family carries, that we belong to so and so who was either a murderer, who was a robber. Yes, so eventually that stigmatization also has a negative impact. Even to the offender themselves who are serving sentences, we've noted that it has a health impact in terms of once that sentence is committed to you, psychologically it torments you, and it also has an impact. You start developing diseases that before the conviction you didn't have.
Currently, Chief Justice Martha Koome has proposed Penal Code Amendment Bill 2023 that aims to reduce sentences for individuals facing life imprisonment, particularly those convicted of capital offences, to 30 years.
There is a proposal currently to suggest that it should now mean, when you are given the life sentence, it should mean a 30-year period.
Every person has the right to freedom of association, which includes the right to form, join or participate in the activities of an association of any kind. This is Article 36 of the Kenyan Constitution, which largely informed another landmark ruling. In September 2023, the Supreme Court reaffirmed that the National Gay and Lesbians Human Rights Commission has a right to officially associate, a highly controversial subject in the country that has elicited mixed reactions.
We have been trying to register the National Gay, Lesbian Human Rights Commission for the last 1.5 years, since April 2012. And in May this year, the government sent us a very, very distasteful letter saying that they would not register.
The journey dates back to 2013 when Eric Gitari tried to register an association of gays and lesbians at the NGO board, but the application was denied on grounds that the names used were offensive to public policy and LGBTQ was outlawed constitutionally. With the help of a lawyer, he proceeded to court.
Supreme Court was faced with a decision of deciding whether the freedom of association as guaranteed by the Constitution. So we have the freedom of association under Article 36, and we have equality and freedom from discrimination under Article 27. So the argument from the government side was that these two rights are not unlimited. They can be limited in certain ways. And in this way, they are saying they're limited because the association is of an outlawed or a criminal activity. So the same way we use Mungiki and stuff, that's what they were relying on to say that now we can't register an association of gays and lesbianism based on the outlaw by the penal code.
As Advocate Robi Karani notes, arriving at that specific ruling was not obvious.
It's also important to note that the decision of the Supreme Court was not unanimous. 3 supported the registration and 2 opposed it. And the argument was coming up from our Constitution and the freedom of equality, freedom from discrimination. What happens is that we borrowed so much of our Bill of Rights from the South African Constitution back then in 2010. Now, if you look at our Article 27.4 on the requirements for discrimination, it talks about conscience, belief, race, gender, sex, but it doesn't talk about sexual orientation. And it is the one thing that is missing from the South African Constitution. And so the judges that were not agreeing to the majority decision were saying that the framers of the Constitution did that deliberately and intentionally, that sexual orientation was omitted from that right from discrimination because it is not supposed to be there. But now the majority side, that's composed of DCJ Mwilu and Njoki Ndung'u and Smoky Wanjala, was of the opinion that the freedom of association and the right to assemble should not and cannot be curtailed by legislation, because at the end of the day, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
Walking down the aisle is one, if not the happiest moment for couples. With a wedding comes huge commitment, and trouble sets in when, due to a myriad of reasons, by law a marriage is dissolved, and a battle for property ownership kicks in. In January 2023, the Supreme Court ruled against automatic equal division of wealth upon divorce. These presidential rulings stated that upon divorce, each partner should exit their marriage with the wealth each of them acquired individually.
For you to have matrimonial property, so you have to belong to that marriage. Now that marriage has to be declared broken down, or you have to divorce, so that now we can come to what is matrimonial property. So the case was between a man and a woman who married in 1990. They divorced in 2016. Once they got divorced, they went to the High Court for division of matrimonial property. The High Court awarded the wife 30% of the matrimonial home and 20% of the rental apartments and the income. He didn't go further to the other landed properties. Then they went to the Court of Appeal. When they went to the Court of Appeal overturned the High Court decision and said, we will share everything 50-50.
Article 45(3) of the Constitution guarantees equality rights during the dissolution of a marriage. The court, however, held that Article 45(3) does not entitle a former spouse to 50% share of assets for the mere fact of marriage, raising concern about downplaying other forms of contribution in a marriage.
So the argument is still out there, but what was the import and what brought about the argument is that now we have to prove that contribution. It has not been made clear or guideline given that this is counted as contribution and this is not counted as contribution. But now we cannot rely on the fact that now we are divorced and we were married, so it is 50-50 regardless of what was happening.
Kenya being a democracy with an enlightened constitution, 2023 has set pace for many possible landmark rulings in the future. Nancy Nalima, Lookuptv.
Well, and that is it from Nancy Nalima as we look at the 2023 landmark rulings that made the highlights this year. And of course, just some hours to the new year, we're wishing you a very happy new year from the team. My name has been John Matava. Our sign language interpreter has been Veronica Awar. Many thanks for watching and stick around come 2024. Keep it right here at Lookuptv. Meanwhile, have a good night and make sure that you hash in the new year come 2024 in peace and in calmness.